Hello, everyone. Hope you are well on this early Saturday morning. Go Dogs. Go whoever you root for in college football. If you're into that, if you're not, I get it. I understand. We have breaking news. I was going to talk about something totally different, and I'll get to a little bit of that. Actually, interesting stuff too. But I want to cover what's been going on overnight. Well, overnight for us. But we have, looks like from reports that are coming in, we have war breaking out in the Middle East, or at least a part of it. Okay. This is a serious situation. I've been trying to gather some information over the last hour or so and bring it to you. We need to keep an eye on this. I'm going to go into it here in a moment. Real quick. I had to start off with this in Portugal. Y'all might have seen this, but you know how these climate activists are in various places where they just get out on the road of a busy street or interstate and just sit in the dang road where traffic just stops because they don't want to run over them. Well, there was some video came out. I saw this yesterday in Portugal where they were doing this. They were blocking the street, just sitting there. The folks just had enough of it and they start getting out of their cars. Not just one or two of them, but a crowd of them gets out and just drags these jokers off the street. It was almost it was coordinated. Like you had some folks that were just dragging these idiots off the street while other folks were directing the traffic around it like, well, let's go. You know, it was awesome. I mean, that's what's going to have to happen. That's what's going to have to happen to these idiots. I'm not saying to harm them, but if you have to physically remove them, that's what's going to, we need to do that. We need to do that. That's how you're going to get around this stuff. Don't don't cater to these people. Idiots. All right. Just had to say that. Just had to get that off my chest. Okay. We have a situation now in the Middle East. It appears that Hamas, at least that's what they're saying, has invaded or launched a surprise attack on southern Israel. This was a pretty massive attack, at least for them. Netanyahu says, we are at war. This is not an operation. This is not an escalation. This is war. Now, I was reading in the Daily Mail. It's a shame you have to go to a foreign news source or foreign news sources to really get some info or just a little bit of detail for things like this. But anyway, uh, Netanyahu says that he vows revenge and that we are at war after gunmen used paragliders to launch attacks, and thousands of rockets rained over the border from Gaza Strip. The death toll looks like it's at least 25 right now. Then some missiles were exchanged. Let's see. Yeah, Israel vowed revenge on Palestine militants, Hamas, after they launched a surprise attack on the country on Saturday. Residents living close to the Israelis' border with Gaza have been ordered to stay inside. Others have been evacuated. And it looks like the Israeli military is, and what he's saying, is mobilizing right now. And I'm telling you, man, those people do not play. It won't just be a couple of rockets in response. It'll be a freaking invasion, man. They will send tanks. They'll have air cover. They'll have artillery going. I mean, the way this guy's talking, this is not just a little tit for tat. Okay, I'm going to retaliate the way you attacked us. They don't do that over there. They're gonna retaliate with massive force, a big reaction. So this is something to keep an eye on. Hopefully, it's just uh, contained to this area, but this is one of those regions to where we have the potential to, like a flashpoint, where this could spread. And it has the potential. Not saying it's going to for sure, but this is a serious situation for sure. Just need to keep an eye on it for now. That's what I'm saying. Jesus, man, this world needs some Jesus. I'm also going to have, I mentioned a while ago, I'm going to have two passages, a bonus passage I'm going to share here in a little while because we need it. We need all the passages we can get right now. verses. All right, stay tuned for that. But what I was going to talk about too is this thing, and you may have heard about it already. This happened yesterday, I believe. But Mrs. Clinton, calling for formal deprogramming. So what exactly does that mean? So if you hadn't heard yet, she was doing an interview with this Christiana Amanpour, who looks like she's just drooling over this lady, drooling over Clinton, which is pretty sickening in itself. But uh, so they're talking about Trump supporters, their favorite subject, and I mean, talk about somebody who occupies these people's minds more than anything is Trump. I mean, I have a lot to say about Trump. I'm not going to really go into that too much right now, but I have mixed feelings to say the least. But anyway, to the point, back to the point. Clinton says that at some point, what is it? I had this written down. Because at some point, they're talking about Trump supporters. Maybe there needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members, but something needs to happen. I mean, let's think about that statement for a while. She made a point to say that in an interview, knowing that it was going to go out to the masses. That was deliberate, of course. At some point, there needs to be a formal deprogramming. Now, first of all, what's formal deprogramming? What comes to your mind then? CAMPS, and then, or something, she said, but something needs to happen. So we're at a point to where we've been at this point. I realize that if you don't agree with them, you deserve to be in a CAMP and you need to go through formal deprogramming. Now, what does that make you think of other countries that have done such? I can think of a few, especially that started in the 30s, 1930s. And and when I think about this, first it makes me think that is extremely dangerous talk because millions of people are going to hear this on both sides. And let me say, Trump has never been my first choice to be a president. Now, with that said, still to call supporters of a candidate these names and say that they need to go through this coming from her, that's extremely dangerous rhetoric. Extremely. That is going down a very, very dark road. Very dark. And I will say, I believe, I could be wrong. I know. I believe the only reason this kind of stuff hasn't actually taken place, the deprogramming part, is because at this point we're still kind of, a 50-50, it might be 60-40 by now, who knows. A division in the country is about half and half. So, to do this to tens of millions of citizens, especially when you still have the Second Amendment, well, we have relative 2A right now, in my opinion. Not full, but anyway, that's another thing. But that's the only reason it hasn't happened. Now, give it another generation? I don't know. I really don't know. That is my concern. It's not so much for us right now, which I have a concern for, but our children and grandchildren, and after that. That I don't know if we make it that far. My concern is that many will sign up for this stuff and not realize what's going on, don't have a historical frame of reference, not being taught history in schools, and so they won't see it coming until they're knee deep into, waist deep into it. And then they won't be able to fight their way out of it. That's my concern. And history repeats itself. It really does. It's amazing, but not in a good way. Amazing in a bad way. I could probably find a different way to describe that. But uh, you know, but that rhetoric, so I just wanted to bring that to your attention if you hadn't heard it. But that is just evil. That is evilness. And we have to get to a point in this country to where you can disagree and not be mortal enemies. I mean, remember back in the day when that was actually the case, for the most part at least, to where, you went and voted for your person, and you might have had a little, some jawing and some trash talk and all, kind of like you would do with sports. We don't go to war over sports. Your teams that lose or win. We just, you might do some jawing and trash, like I said, trash talk and all that, and then you go back home, and then you're friends the next day. At least that's the way it is with my folks, with my friends. You know, we got to get to that point. Got to. But when we have this kind of talk, it's not going to happen. Got to get to a point to where you know you can live in peace, and that is in danger right now, big time, big time. That's the best way I can try to describe it. My and if we make it to the 2024 elections, my big concern there, and I know you've probably been thinking about this too, but no matter which side wins, and it looks like going to have the same candidates again that we had in 2020. And it's sad in a way. I mean, this is all we got. This is all we have to choose from. These two guys. That's it. I mean, what do we do? So no matter who wins, no matter who the candidates are at this point, whichever side wins, the other side is going to say, well, it was stolen. So when that happens, what's going to happen then? What's the fallout? Or even leading up to it, for that matter, but especially afterwards, what's going to happen? And that's my concern right there. And if you don't prepare for anything else, prepare for that, because I believe, y'all, talk about holding on tight. I don't. That's as far as I'll go on that right now. But as far as Trump, and people say, how can you vote for him? But okay, those are your choices. If you're going to vote, you got Brandon and you got Trump. I mean, we're not going to vote Brandon. So you only got one other choice. Unless you just write in somebody, I guess. I guess you can do that. I know some people who do that. That's an option. I'm interested. I was hoping this Kennedy guy could get some traction. It makes things interesting, at least. I don't know, somebody else. I don't know. Anyway, that's just some thoughts of mine. Um, Share your thoughts, and let's keep preparing. Let's keep on and just keep that in mind, and every week, think about what you can shore up in your preparations. Okay, spiritual preparations are number one, which leads me into my verses. All right. Okay. First one is from Mark, book of Mark. Mark 16, verse 15 says, "And he said to them, go into the world and proclaim the gospel to the whole creation." Now, this is when Jesus was with his disciples, and one of the last things he said was this: go out and proclaim the gospel. And we can do that in respect and kindness and love. We don't have to throw the Bible at them, thump them with the Bible, yell and scream at them. We don't need to do that. We can be an example. We can show through our actions. We can just share our faith. It can be simple. We can do that in a number of ways. We don't have to just do it in person. We can do it over social media. We can do it via the social media tools. Those have been used for evil, but they can also be used for this. Let's keep that in mind. And the other one is this is the verse of the day on the Bible app, actually, looks like. Psalm chapter 34, verse 8 says, "Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good." Indeed, blessed is the man who takes refuge in him. Amen. Amen. Good times or bad times, he is the one to take refuge in, because it doesn't mean that we will not go through the trials. We will go through them. Lord knows we will go through them. However, we don't have to have the fear, and we know in the end he has us. He delivers us. The Lord our God will deliver us, his people. So let's keep that in mind and align our hearts with him. Let's keep in prayer. All right. Let's stay safe out there. God bless you. I'll see you soon.